because today is October 19th, 2017.
So welcome everyone to the Co-Creators Convergence third Thursday call. I'm Noelle Marshall, and this is my beloved Bob Warner.
Hi everybody, we're so glad to have you with us, and this is a very exciting time for us this evening to have Barbara Marx Hubbard with us and Steve Farrell from Humanities team. Really been looking forward to this opportunity ever since we walked into Barbara's place to say goodbye to her when we were leaving Sunrise Ranch and said, we'd love to have you come speak to us in October and talk about your new program and all the wonderful things that are going on and all the fantastic things that are going on at Humanities team as well. So before we start, there are a number of people that will be watching this call later. And so we have recently come up with a paragraph that we think represents what the Co-Creators Convergence community actually is. So since it's brand new to me, I'm actually going to read it to share with everyone that the Co-Creators Convergence is a heart resonant community of uniquely gifted souls dedicated to embodying and amplifying our collective consciousness, thereby co-creating a world that works for everyone. We do this with great love, compassion, and joy, honoring all realms of creation to accelerate the awakening of humanity. So there are actually 4 ways that our community connects with itself other than in timeless space and with pure energy. And that is that we have a website, co-creatorsconvergence.com website, where we have information about our meetings. We have photo galleries from our past events. We have all the calls that have been conducted on third Thursday since back in 2014. We also have a very active Facebook page, and we welcome anyone that's new to this community this evening to be a part of that Facebook page and share there your joys in your life, what your needs are from others in the community, how the community can support you. And then, of course, this third Thursday call is the way that we get to see each other's shining faces and feel each other's energy through technology and telephonic connection on the third Thursday. All of these calls, as I mentioned, are all archived on our website. And lastly, we're blessed to be able to gather annually. Recently finished our 5th annual Co-Creators Convergence and planning now for next year, again, at Sunrise Ranch in Loveland, Colorado. And we welcome everyone to be a part of that. It was a blessing for us this year to be there for the entire summer. Noelle and I were, and to know that we were right down the street to spend so much time with Barbara. So with that, I give it back to you, Noelle, if you want to pass it on.
Okay, I'm just so thrilled that everyone is here, chosen to spend some time. Also welcoming Kathy Mason to the call, and Red Clover, that's Kathy Roberts calling in from probably South Dakota. So geographic spread here is just fabulous. We're international on this call. Mm-hmm. Barbara doesn't need any introduction. I mean, she's been our guiding light for this whole, the Co-Creators Convergence would not exist if it weren't for Barbara. So she is our guiding light and mentor and has inspired us so much over the years. And we're so grateful that she's taking this time to be with us and real excited about what we're going to hear. And you're not going to hear too much more from Bob and Noelle, if you believe that one, because we have Steve Farrell on the line. And Steve Farrell is the worldwide director of Humanities team. And Humanities team came out of work that he did with Neil Donald Walsh. And as Bob and I found out, I was studying with Barbara Marx Hubbard. Bob was studying with Neil Donald Walsh. And little did we know that the two are like BFFs and such great friends. And out of Steve's connection with Neil Donald Walsh, the Humanities team was born. And so Steve and Barbara are putting together a program. I'm not going to say anything more about it because they'll tell you about it. And but Steve is also a great inspiration, has generated and brought together a tremendous worldwide community. And I want to hear from them, and then also what the two of them have cooked up together. And then Steve, we also want to hear about Global Oneness Day that's coming up. So I was remiss and did not put that in our email blast, but I will be blasting it out as well, because we want to get as many people involved with that as possible. So without any further ado, I think we're going to turn it over to Steve. I'm going to unmute you. There was kind of like a background noise, and I couldn't understand where it was coming from. It sounded like a pig snorkeling. And
Big snorkeling.
so
Okay.
I don't know how else to say it. And I'm not going to say that it went away when I muted Barbara, but we're going to, so Barb, you're muted for the moment. So with that grand and glorious introduction, I'm going to turn it to Steve, and we're going to have a wonderful center, and you can forget about Noel's silliness. So Steve, I yield the floor. I'm going to mute Noel.
All right. Well, I think speaking on behalf of Barbara and me, I know she would share this. It's a real privilege and pleasure to be with you all. You know, the Co-Creators Network, each of you, as you look around this call, are really big activists on your own. So and then when you put together this Co-Creators Network, you know, you've really got there's a lot of horsepower, a lot of juice, a lot of activism. And of course, you know, the heart that Bob was talking about, that is what anchors you, this heart coherence. So it's a pleasure to be here with you all. Thanks for inviting us. I was invited to go ahead and do a little centering exercise. So let's go ahead and do that. I don't think any of us are driving, so we can close our eyes if we like. Get our back straight. Our feet on the floor, our hands turned up to the universe. Let's just take a couple of deep breaths here as we get started. Really coming into presence here. And as we're taking these deep breaths, let's just concentrate on opening our chakras, our crown chakra at the top of our head, our solar plexus, heart chakra, all of our chakras down through our body. And let's just feel into that glorious, divine, white light that is this one presence that we're all emanations of, that I'll call the divine here. And that's just beaming out this white light, this grace and peace and blessing and beauty, bliss. Especially now, here in the evening, as we're winding down from our day, let's just feel almost like helium balloons, just release anything that we're thinking about, any anxieties, tension, any stress, any action items, challenges, anything from the past or the future. Just really be here right now. And let's feel that white light coursing down from our crown chakra throughout our body, circulating in our body, cleaning out any energies from the day that are dense, that are heavy, any stresses or challenges. Feel into that absolute realm, God herself, the divine, that we're all beautiful faces of. With her white light just circulating in our body. Now let's start to connect ourselves and feel that energy coursing not only through our body, but now connecting all of us virtually. These different parts of the country, different parts of the world from where we're calling in from. Feeling that white light now just going from our fingertips and our hearts to each other, creating a big virtual circle. And now as we do this, we can even feel into each other because we are all one. And of course, as we know in this group, it's palpable, it's tangible. It's not something that's just abstract at all. We can even feel into the energy of the group that's here. And feel that white light, the divine, sweeping out any energies of stress or tension, or any cerebral kinds of thoughts, sweeping those out here so that this energy that's connecting us is just pure grace and peace and blessing and authenticity, truth, love, compassion, kindness. Our true essence, God's essence. And let's just feel into the beautiful faces of the divine here in the co-creators convergence. All of you gathered here, all of those who are part of co-creators convergence doing this beautiful work. It's based in the sacred. It has this activism component. It's just doing all of these great works out in the world. I just feel into that big smile, the divine smiling in us, above us, below us. And that smile of job well done, which we know is the divine thought here as we're all connecting, speaking, coming together at this moment to share time together. Job well done. Whew, I can sure feel that. And feeling also into some of these things that we'll talk about during the call. You can feel into this whole planetary call to action thing that I know is part of what brought co-creators convergence together. The sense that yes, there's fruit for us individually where we're maintaining our spiritual or sacred practice. But it's also this moment in the Earth's evolution that Barbara calls this crisis that precedes the birth, that precedes evolution, that's here upon us now. And it's just, again, an energy that's circulating here, the divine energy. It's saying, job well done. It's also saying, thank you for being here, being the activists that you are, sacred activists that are elevating in importance this work where we're awakening humanity and living as who we really are, as all parts of the divine, or Homo Universalis, or whatever term we want to use. Okay, let's just now expand the circle to include all the co-creators, convergence, all of the people that have been involved in it over the years, all of them all over the world. All of the people in New Thought, New Age. All of the people that are really embodying it, that are living it, expressing it. Then let's turn the whole light switch on. Feel all of humanity and all of the earth now just connected with us. Even Donald Trump and others, nationalist, populist leaders around the world. that are also in this light energy web connected with us. And let's just bless all of these people and all of life, especially those that are living in places of fear, doing work that's fear-based. Let's just bless them again, and bless them again. And now I can feel that divine smile again, where the divine is just smiling in us and above us, below us, beside us, and just saying, yep, it's your moment. Okay, let's just take maybe 30 seconds to some deep breaths now into this energy. Okay, and then when we're ready, we can just gradually kind of come back in, open our eyes, and rejoin this meeting.
Thank you.
Oops, that was my dog again. Sorry. Fortunately, that wasn't right in the middle of my spiritual experience. One second, I'm going to open the door for
Expert timing there. So thank you, Steve, for that, and thank you for inviting in all of those who will be picking up this call later, because I know there's quite a few that have mentioned that. And before I turn it over to you, I'm going to, I want to read, I said, you know, we're having Barbara on the call. I want to read the codes. And Barbara, I don't know if you have a microphone or something, but I think that noise is coming from you. So I don't know if you have a headset with a microphone on. It might be better if you do.
I have a microphone.
Because there's some kind of feedback in there that's going on. Okay, but before I turn it over to Steve and Barbara, I said I want to read one of the codes, read 52 codes, because I just...
Is it better now?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I turned my microphone off. I don't know. There's something wrong with it. Okay, I'm sorry.
That's good.
That's
good now. Thank you.
Perfect. So I want to read one of the codes that I just felt called to share tonight, and then I'm going to turn it over to Steve and Barbara, and it's code 12. It says, place your attention on me, the universal self. I will lift you into the quantum landing field. Consciously identify with the universal self. Remember, I am that. Direct your universal self to infuse all aspects of your being with vitality and to guide you moment by moment. You are entering a quantum landing field within yourself, the space in consciousness for the higher frequency of your being to land within, to infuse you with a vibration that calibrates and harmonizes all aspects of your being. Your goal is not to transcend, but transformation through incarnation of the full spectrum of selves: body, local self, essential self, universal self, becoming a whole being, a universal human, your own full potential self. So thank you, Barbara, for that. And I think that in addition to Steve's centering, we have launched. So with that, I'm going to mute myself. I also, one other little editorial tidbit here. Bob and I are currently at the home of Ron and Victoria Friedman. So they're on the other side of the monitor. Maybe we can at the end get them to come out there and say hello. So we're graciously vibing to you from Stamford, Connecticut. So without further ado, Steve and Barbara, take it away.
I just want to give appreciation for you, Bob and Noel, and for Steve, because there's really nothing more important than our partnering. And the word co-creators convergence is actually the essence of evolution. Nature creates these jumps by connecting separate parts to make a new whole, greater than the sum of our parts. So thank you so much for having initiated Co-Creators Convergence. And I want to thank Steve for having come to me and said, Barbara, why don't we awaken the species together? And let's invite the global oneness community who is already imbued with the oneness to participate with their creativity of oneness, to awaken us collectively to what we're already becoming. And I just want to give a moment of thanks for somebody who has been on the path, probably longer than anybody currently alive, is I am new. And what creates newness, if you think of the evolutionary spiral, is convergence. And in the Ilya-Prigogine, when innovations connect in a nonlinear, exponential interaction, they create new organisms. And I just want to say a word about a new planetary organism that's actually different than cooperating. Our cells are not cooperating to build our body, even though they are doing that. What they're doing is much, much more than cooperating. Wow, they're creating radical newness of every individual body. So let's celebrate this time together by saying this particular convergence experience with Steve Farrell and myself, who are activated toward a planetary convergence with everybody else who's already activated, that we declare in quantum think. Just like the code that you read, I've been saying that to myself, we're in the quantum landing field of instant manifestation of intention. Let's take that seriously tonight. We're in a convergence zone with instant, in the quantum landing field with instant manifestation of intention. So I'm going to offer that everybody who speaks would like to place whatever they're saying into instant manifestation of shared intention, of convergence of humanity toward a new humanity. Whatever name we call it, we're using universal humanity, universal Homo Universalis. It isn't the name, it's the convergence. But the convergence is radically new. It's not slightly better of something we've already done. So I'm going to open that up and turn it to you for a moment, Steve, to say, why in the world did you come into this with me like this?
Well, everybody here knows the answer to that, Barbara. It's my privilege and pleasure. So, you know, your brilliance, and I mean, how cool is this, you know, that in this, I use the term a lot with humanities team and also with what is happening here with Barbara, of God job, of, that everything unfolded where Barbara moves out to Colorado and she's right nearby. And then she has this epiphany of, oh my God, I am to awaken the species. And then she calls me, just as a friend to tell me about it. And of course, with global oneness, it's like, hello, awaken the species. That's what global oneness is. But she says, no, this is a year-round. This is a year-round thing. Where, I'm gonna just, and as we know, Barbara's really is Homo Universalis. I mean, she really is. I mean, you hear that genius and then the humility and all the divine signature signs, right, of it, and Barbara has those. So it's my privilege and pleasure, that I get to, I play with Barbara all day long. Just we're working on this program, and it's so much more. We're certainly not calling it a course, but planetary call to action is the closest thing to what it feels like for us, because again, it's not this God job actually encompasses all of what's going on the planet right now, because as we look at our administration here in this country and in many other countries, we all know that that we're not gonna go to our destiny from the tops down. We knew that before, but now after November, it's like, do we know this or what? This is going to be grassroots led. It's going to be grassroots led, and it's just the kind of thing that Bob read of the co-creators convergence. Where you talk about being heart connected, where there's heart coherence between the group, and that then is activating all of these other kinds of things that you all are doing as a network. It's that, right? That's the grassroots thing that is just taking us to our destiny. And as we all know, and some of you write emails, and others have courses, and you all are doing quite a lot. As I look around here, I know what most of you, or many of you, are doing, and you're involved in this in your own programs, where you're inviting people to really step into it, that we actually are already awake, right? But maybe what we haven't done is to really fully embody it outside of the safe container of this, programs like this. It's very easy right now on a Zoom call, or where we're gathered out at Sunrise Ranch, or on Global Oneness Day. It's very easy in the safe container of that to really be a strong voice and expression of it. But what Awaken New Species is about, and again, I know it's what a lot of your work is about really being completely rooted in it, and really completely embodying it and expressing it, and being a representation of the divine, in the way that we're choosing, which is what Homo Universalis is. It's love and compassion and heart. It's all of these things, but it's these things that are rooted very deeply, and so it's not even called Homo sapien anymore. So, and Barbara, you were saying, that this isn't like a little tune-up, incrementally better. It's not like that. It's a complete transformation of just really living in that connected space, and where we carry that around with us. And we don't have to be proselytizing and talking to neighbors and things, unless we're lucky. We've got a neighbor that's really there. But most of us don't. Or Barbara does at Sunrise Ranch. But we can embody it, and they know something's different. And even when I was in Silicon Valley, when I was a CEO there, that was how it was for me then. Obviously, you know, on my journey, I've come a lot further. But even then, people said, you know, like, are you a priest or a CEO? I wasn't sharing priestly things, but I threw out my day planner, and you know, it was like, okay, we're gonna, you know, here's what's on my heart, what's on your heart, you know, and we're gonna just really be honest here with each other, which is part of, again, what this Homo Universalis is. So, yeah, we've got just a great thing here. I'm deeply honored to be partnered with Barbara. And I can, you know, boy, I'm right there with you, Noel, Bob, and saying, you know, she's a great mentor and leader, and she's all those things to me too. You saw me, some of you were out at Sunrise Ranch when we gave her our highest honor, our Spiritual Leadership Award, which she richly deserves. It's just amazing to me what she's done with her life, where she's gone from, I know Barbara will call me back later. Come on, stop the praising stuff. Don't do that. Don't, you know, which is, again, is so neat about Barbara. She doesn't want to be praised, but she, you know, grew up in a life of privilege, you know, Rolls Royces and stuff, driving around. Her dad owns a big toy company, and he walked into President Eisenhower's office to talk to him. But she's devoted her whole life to this work, you know, and she's, as you all know, she's passionate, and she just goes 7 by 24 with it. And now she really has been called to awaken the species, and we're delighted to be partnering with her, and really just with this planetary call, you know, where we're saying, hey, you know, we all know now's the time, and there's something really here we want to invite you to hear. So we created this. We've got some webinars coming up next Thursday, and the Thursday after that, when you can hear all about the program. The program doesn't start until November 7th. But we create, even with the pricing, you know, we're about a third of what a commercial price is for a 52-week program. So we personally led by Barbara. And the reason for that is of course, as you all mentioned in your work, is we've got a part of being Homo Universalis is we're respecting ourselves, right? And we're bringing the financial nourishment back, and we're not embarrassed about that. It's part of what we do. But the mission is what's leading the work. And in this case, the mission is touching as many people as we can, really bringing us together relationally to really to express as Homo Universalis, and to grow in that. And then to have a big celebration event near the end in Loveland, in around September of next year, where everybody's going to come together for a big celebration. So that's a little bit. I know Barbara will share a lot more, and I can share more too. I should just stop, but I can also tell you a little bit about Global Oneness Day here, you know, during the call.
Thank you so much, Steve. I think maybe I'd like to take a brief definition of what we mean by Homo Universalis. Mm-hmm. And why do we think it's something we've never had before? And I'll just say it very briefly. It's 3 elements that when they come together are new. Element number 1 is spiritual evolution. Everybody who is a member of this emerging species is animated by a deep inner impulse of creativity that we could call God, Source, Spirit, to express totally that divine energy. Yes?
Yes.
True?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I mean, we've had spiritual people like this before, but en masse, where this impulse, just so let's imagine that we're talking about converging that. And everybody that I know, everybody on this call, everybody that will sign up is actually motivated by the inner impulse of creation, which in my own understanding came from the source of evolution, and has the 13.7 or 8 billion years of genius in it. Wow. You're not just an individual person with a good idea. When you tune into that inner impulse of creation that's motivating you, you're tuning into supramental genius. Number one. Number two, vocational arousal. Is there anybody on this call who's vocationally attracted to what you're doing? Yes? Okay, vocational arousal is the next step after sexual arousal. I have a declarative statement that nature put sex into the system to get us to join genes to have the baby. And then we got so many babies that there's something new started to come up. And here's what I think has come up. Is suprasexual, vocational, yearning to join genius. Like Bob and Noel, like Glenn and Marion. I mean, it's just a joy to see this when it happens. It doesn't have to be a married couple. It's just partnering, vocationally aroused so that your unique inner impulse of evolutionary creativity is joining with somebody else's unique supramental genius of evolution. Now that joining is as powerful in creating a new human, I believe, as joining genes is creating a baby. Now, the formation of the new human through this joining vocationally is relatively new and not so easy, and we're not set up for it ordinarily. But if it happens, the joining of genius starts to decode the mimetic code, which is the frequency of evolution in each of us that is motivating us to be more and love more and do more. When those mimetic codes in each of us start to have a vibrational connectivity, even if the two people don't know what's happening. Because this inner motivation, like I have an inner motivational drive. I haven't seen it. I believe it's part of universal evolution. It's vibrational. So when two or more join vibrationally with a yearning to express this, nature creates new humans and new work. And it's done out of passionate love, of an evolutionary loving quality. Joining genius. So evolutionary spirituality, evolutionary vocational, joining genius, combined with the incredible number of innovations that come from joining genius. Like what Marion and Glenn, Marion, I mean, I happen to know Marion so well, and the whole, you know, say your name, say the revolutionary agreements. Revolutionary agreements. Okay. I happen to have been with Marion when she conceived of revolutionary agreements. I was at her home and we used to put our hands on each other's tummies and say, okay, we can create a baby there. What else could we create? A baby. Totally awesome. So is revolutionary agreements for what it does for the new humanity. So is Global Oneness Day for what it does for the new humanity. So is every single person here, and we might have an orchestration right after I finish this. Okay, evolutionary spirituality, evolutionary vocation, leading to innovations in what you're doing. Because if you're motivated by evolutionary vocation, you're not just good at doctor, lawyer, Indian chief in the old way. In fact, all the people holding those positions of existing system are not innovating at the level required. So we are leading. I would never say we're not, I think this is what's leading. And then the final one, third one of this new Homo Universalis is high tech. Now, if you, I happen to have listened to a conversation between Peter Diamandis and Ray Kurzweil. just the other day. These two guys, I mean, I'm already, if you want to know their language, I'm in escape velocity about aging. This is life extension thing. The escape velocity is, okay, I'm 88. But maybe, you know, in a year or two, they're going to know how to go from 88 to 95 easily. Life extension. So I'm in escape velocity because I've got 5 more years. But by the time I get to 95, the very same people doing research into radical life extension are beyond 95. They're into 100. And so I'm in escape velocity. And these two guys who are probably in their 50s, they don't think they're going to die. and so they're casual about it. They're casual. But not only are they not going to die, the artificial intelligence, this, as Ray Kurzweil put it, by 2045, we will be 1 billion times more intelligent, not just in our brain, but all the connectivities of the brain with each other. And this has never done before, but humans were so much more intelligent than the most intelligent animal. We're used to this in evolution. We're used to it, folks. So this new species, high tech. Then if you get nanotechnology, they're saying we're not going to explore the universe in our physical bodies, but it's empathetic nanobots. Now, I know that you all care a lot about empathetic nanobots. Not only will they explore outer space, but they're going to fix your body. That's what they do. They come in, they fix this, they fix that, the other thing. All right. And I'm not even going to go on any more about this. I'm not even an expert in it. But I am one who says if we combine spiritual evolution, vocational arousal, and joining genius with the powers that used to be attributed to gods, and we put love into those powers, folks, we've got Homo Universalis. Is that true or not? I'd like some opinions now, please. Anybody? Tell me what you think about it. Anybody? Yes? Yes?
If you want to speak to Barbara or comment on anything she's mentioned so far, just give me a wave and I'll unmute you. I'm just trying to keep everything muted.
Okay, thank you. Because I'm really eager to know if you feel part of this or if it makes sense or not sense.
So this is from Sydney. He put in the chat, it sounds like what the Russells promoted.
The Russells. Oh, the Russell, yes.
Mm-hmm. Oh. So you may want to elaborate on the Russells. I'm not completely familiar with them.
Well, let's get some opinions rather than too much of other people's. Yes.
Okay. Kim?
Just very simply, when you asked that question, I simply received yes.
Yes.
So there's other ways of speaking, same thing. I was getting nonlinear transformation. That is what happens in the creation of in the womb. Then everything jumps. Then you have quantum transformation, nonlinear transformation. And when you ask the question, I simply thought yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
We have a chat from David Gardner in Kauai. He says, I hear what you were saying, Barbara. You have distilled the formula for this transformation for those who have ears to hear.
Thank you. And they're the ones who are going to be transforming.
Barbara, what is it that, do you feel that there's something extraordinary about this moment in time that is, is there something that's unique about this now that the offering that you're making, the moment that you are on your spiritual journey, you're rebirthing for yourself, is there something special about this moment right now, either in the wider view or for you personally?
I think it's collective and personal. Collectively, we have been told for the very first time in human history that if we continue growing, in the particular way with climate change and so forth, we could destroy our life support system by doing this. In other words, we've been given that awareness for the first time at a global scale. Meaning, if we continue to grow exactly like we've been growing, we could self-destruct. Now, this is a huge signal that we have not had collectively. At the same time, we're having a signal of this vast uprising of people turning on spiritual and studying every kind of discipline and training, of which now there are truly countless ones. And we have the nervous system, the noosphere, the internet, finally connected up at a global scale. They're trying to get everybody on the internet, you know, all Zuckerberg, because you're going to get them all on. What is that about? Mm-hmm. Well, it's a planetary nervous system. Mm-hmm. And if Teilhard de Chardin was right, that when the noosphere gets its collective eyes, there's a collective awakening of love. You know what, folks? Right now, we're all on the noosphere. Mm-hmm. And I've gotten the feeling that every one of us, everything we say right now is imprinted in that nervous system. Mm. And how many imprints of this kind does a nervous system of a newborn planetary organism need to turn on? We don't know, but we could find out. It's worth trying. Thank you. Yes, anyone else?
Does anyone else want to jump in here? Just give me a little wave or whatever. I'm going to unmute the people who are on the phone. Anna, do you have any comment for Barbara? Or Jody and Nicole, you're all unmuted. These are the phone people. If you do, or okay, just
yes, yeah. Noelle, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Jody. Mm-hmm.
Hey, yes, Barbara, thank you so very much for all of your work that you are doing for Mother Gaia and all of her children. And I really resonate so much with everything that you are doing and everything that you spoke to. I think it was, I forget the name of our sister who spoke first, and you said, yes. And that was exactly my response too. As a matter of fact, I sent you a message over Facebook, Noelle, saying, yes, Barbara, when you asked, what do we feel about this? Any comments? And I had an immediate resonant, yes, absolutely. Evolutionary spirituality, human beings that are awakening and converging. And I really loved what you said about convergence too. I could go on and on, but I want to let other people speak. I thank you, Barbara. I absolutely am 100% on board with this. And I would love to actually connect further after this call, as my spoke of the wheel is bringing a global franchise for healing and peace to our planet. And it's very much in alignment with the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much. And I want to say something about the word yes. When somebody says to me, well, Barbara, it's okay for you to say all these things, but I'm just a housewife. Mm-hmm. How could you expect me to be awakening the new species? And my answer is, say yes to what attracts you. Does anything attract you? Say I to this person. Well, yes. Have you said yes to it? Well, not really. What would happen if you did say yes to it? Well, you might have to change your life. You might have to take a big trip. You might have to change your vocation. Are you daring to say yes to the inner impulse? That's my own discovery. When I got depressed, I found out that you had to have life purpose. Then I had to say yes, and I changed my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of others.
It's something just to notice about this. And I want to turn it back to Steve for a moment to say what we're going to be doing. I'd like to really share for a minute and then turn it to Steve. If you can imagine 52 weeks with a code per week that comes from that universal self dimension, with X number of 100 people resonating in an empathetic field in the noosphere. I am asking universe, if this is actually what universe is requiring of us, not a good project, but a natural event for an awakening species. I turn this over to you, Steve, as to how you got turned on like this, because you have a big management team, which I do not.
Yeah, how I got, well,
Or what you think about the program itself, what could happen out of it?
Steve, Barb, could I just, before we change gears here, and I love the direction you're going, you had from Pamela in Ontario, she says, I could feel the yes to my bones circulating with joy and expansive love.
Thank you, Pamela.
So, okay, I'm sorry that brief interruption there,
Yeah,
but
no,
I thought you'd like to have the affirmation anyway.
The little yeses, the personal yeses, and the big yeses, and the planetary yes.
Yeah.
Super. Okay, Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, well, let me start out by saying, because I don't know if we've mentioned the website, but it's awakennewspecies.com. So awakennewspecies.com. And if you go there, you can get a lot of details that we won't get to here as well. Barbara has kind of a little back door for friends and things that it goes that has other information you can get, and maybe she can or Sherwood could send that out, in the morning or something. So she's kind of got the early release of this site. Now, in terms of this Awaken New Species and what it is and where it's going, and let me just bring in. As you know, Neil's latest book that came out in March, which was called Awaken the Species, his last Conversations with God book, it says that, that this ascension process has begun, that highly evolved beings, right, that the celestial beings are here now supporting this ascension of our planet. And that's almost old news, right? Because the Hathors, Penny Black and the team, Heaven's Letters. I mean, on Ted, who's Kathy's partner. On and on and on. They're all saying the same thing, right? That this moment is real. That cause was established in 2012. It's unstoppable now, and now it's unfolding into the fullness of effect. I believe that with all of who I am. It's why myself and people on the humanities team, a lot of us still aren't paid, or, I work as hard as I did in Silicon Valley. Why? Because I believe, in what is happening here. And I believe in the role that we can play as elders and catalysts and things to support this work. So I think we're right in the middle of it. Barbara had this inner plane knowing or conversation with her father who passed, which was kind of what steered her in this direction. That there was no coincidence in that I'm here and that we talked, and the thing that we've been looking for in humanities team is many of you know it's really a year-round activity to plan Global Witness Day. It's huge, and we don't want it to just be growing numbers of people, that are participating, and like a bigger show, so to speak, of, oh, that was so inspiring. It was even more inspiring than last year. This isn't like an entertainment event, That's not why we do it. It's too much work to be an entertainment event. Its purpose is to really be a catalyst, we call it our Earth Day for an awakened humanity. That this ancient truth, this timeless truth, that we are all one, we're all interconnected, interrelated, and interdependent. That really needs to come out into the open, because as we know, just like with each of us here, once we walk through that door of consciousness and we step into oneness and into consciousness with the divine and with humanity and all of life, everything changes. It's this, Barbara describes Homo Universalis. That is what this is. That's exactly what this is. So that Barbara had this happen, and she moved to Colorado and said, I've been called to do this, and and she wanted to do it right after Global Oneness Day or around Global Oneness Day. It's like, hello, this is of course, of course we need to partner, because this is taking humanities team, which with its big inspiration, and now bringing a tool bag to all those that participate, and making a tool bag that goes year round, so that we can really, the awareness is one part of what awakening oneness is, but it's the skills, right? That's the challenging part, because we can all read Conversations with God or a lot of books by Marianne Williamson and by Barbara, Neil, that create the awareness. But as we know, to really embody this, it's more than reading books and going to seminars.
You know what, Steve? I want to say something here, because some people on this call will be so-called speakers on the 52 weeks, like Marian Head. Now, let's just take Marian Head, for example, as a member of Homo Universalis. Now, she has a very unique part to play. What is it, Marian? And how would it help our species evolve? Can you say, just how, from the context of making us being a speaker on one of the 52 weeks and making a contribution to us collectively with your creativity? Just say what you think that could be.
Well, first I need to go back to 1968 for just a moment.
Oh, okay.
When as a freshman in college, for some reason, I wrote down a definition of peace. I wasn't an activist. I was a student. I was a good student. I was very focused. And then I came out of college and I went into a career field. I didn't know I was going to do anything around peace on earth, except I should have, because from the time I was a little girl, from the time I started wishing on the first star, I was always wishing for peace. And then I wrote this definition, and Barbara, when you opened this tonight and said, what is it that we claim as an instant manifestation? In this time of instant manifestation, it is my definition that, or the definition, it wasn't my definition, the definition that came to me when I asked myself, or somebody asked me the question, and it's that it's a natural state. It's a state in which people naturally desire one another's well-being and celebrate the beauty in diversity. And then Steve, you said, this all came up to me tonight while you were all speaking, and Steve, you said, what was it? Something about what we're drawn to do, and I don't know, all the pieces just are coming together without words, actually. But one of the gifts that I've been given, I know what it was, Steve. It was about living it. It was, we have to live it. Well, because that was a definition I carried around in my notebook for my 4 years of undergraduate school. I guess it got into me, and so in whatever way I learned to do it, with a lot of stumbling and falling and knocking with a 2x4 on my head, I'm learning to live it and to ask for what I need to live it. Most recently, it was to learn to be kinder. It's not something I spent time focused on. I focused on getting things done. So now I'm experiencing what it's like to have kindness. It's amazing. So it's to live this feeling of desiring the well-being of all life. So I just want to say thank you, both of you, for bringing up something that connected me back to that vision. And now I've been given a gift. I was given this gift in 1985, which was also when I met Barbara. It might have been 86. And the gift is a set of agreements with ourselves that, just like our presence as the awakened species, I didn't even know what its power was until now. And now I see that these, by my definition, are 12 agreements that they are how Homo Universalis behaves. And if we're not already there, or if I'm not already there every day, I can practice them, and it will help accelerate my own evolution. And that is what I live now. That is what we teach. And there are people on this screen, actually, I'm looking at 3 of them, who are certified also to lead these revolutionary agreements programs, and others who've attended those graduates, those certified people's programs. So yes, this is my little piece, and it's getting bigger because of who's on the screen and who's out there in the world. So hallelujah.
So thank you, Marion. Revolutionary agreements are exactly the way we have to make agreements. Let's just take a moment for everybody on this call is probably making a contribution uniquely theirs to the evolution of our new species. Is that true? Everybody.
Yes.
Everybody. Can you imagine what we're needing to be doing, Steve, in having this year-long intensive is invite everybody. There, it's not just, oh, here's Irvin Laszlo. Oh, that's wonderful. Here comes Deepak Chopra. No, everybody is uniquely gifted if they say yes. I think that's where the yes comes in. So I am getting, this is now, I'm going to just share a little bit about how it feels to me to be Homo Universalis. I'm checking in every day. I said, how do you feel? If you're Homo Universalis, what does it feel like? And then I have to write in my journal how I feel, because it is new. And if I didn't write it and review it and feed it back to myself, I could go too fast. And because I tend to be a communicator where I don't fully embody what I'm communicating. So in slowing down to embody it, when my evolutionary spirituality is totally turned on with my vocation, which is actually this, combined with my love of high tech being a part of my living body. And then I reside in that state of being in the early morning hours. And then I realize what's happened to me, I've become whole. And the word that has come up for me of the nature of Homo Universalis is every single impulse that leads toward higher consciousness, freedom, and order is embodied in every one of us. And when you become whole as that, it's awesome. And there's, I'm saying I've crossed over. It sounds like I haven't died, but crossing over of a complete incarnational, experiential reality of all of this as you evolves us toward, I don't think we fully have the word whole being is a very boring description of it, but if I really let myself go, it's what we used to call new species or gods or highly evolved beings. And I like to call it a new norm rather than extra norm. We have had many divine teachers who were extra norms. The difference here is that I'm a new norm. And if there's any gift to be given to anybody else, it's because so are they. But you do have to say the big yes. You have to notice all these different parts. You have to spend some time incarnating yourself. Otherwise, you might not notice who you are. Like anybody else feel this way? Who could describe it? What's it feel like? Kim?
Okay, my mute is off, so hello.
Hello.
I have had, when you spoke of wishing for world peace ever since you were little. Me too. I've had this sense of coming for this time ever since I can remember. And we talked a little bit about it when we connected at CCC, and I'm very much about words and how words vibrate, because words create our world, and we literally sentence ourselves every day. So when we can wake up and realize and consciously co-create and sentence ourselves, we can literally do this into and as this new world. So for me, embodying the word sacred, the work is sacred life living. And embodying, and we've been doing beta test groups, embodying this word sacred, then it all seems to unfold in this natural, nonlinear, evolutionary manifestation of a new norm where everything flows, where work kind of just, it's not about work, it just works. So I'm doing it through sacred life living, and the work that I'm doing there, and it's amazing the transformations that just seem to happen.
So you see, I want to read a code 39 that I think is important, at least it has been for me. Develop an incorruptible communication system for your inner scripture. Now is the time for you to set up this new incorruptible communication system for the emerging word of evolution as it appears through experiential listening, asking, scribing, and mapping in such a way as to activate the word becoming conscious in you and others. But what tends to happen, we have a very quick, fleeting epiphanies all the time. But if we don't create a communication system for those epiphanies, it's very hard to remember them. Now, I'm a journal writer, so that's how I've done it. It doesn't have to be that you're a big journal writer, but I really believe, and here's the last sentence, the word of evolution is the inner scripture. It is sacred. It needs to be cherished, cultivated, and remembered for everybody. What we could do on Awaken the Species, Steve, is have everybody keep that inner scripture. Wow. And then share it. Share it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And Barbara, I'd like to stand on the shoulders of that and ask you, both you and Steve, to expand a little bit in another direction, standing on the shoulders also of what you've said about this yes that so many people are commenting. The yes, there's big yeses and little yes. Actually, it's just yes. It's what it is and what is ours to do, as Lynn Twist says in Pachamama Alliance, and expand the question off into conscious business, because there's an initiative in Humanities team that deals with conscious business. Barbara, you've been having conversations with business leaders and looking at how all that we're talking about this evening and all the work that you're doing and all that this 52 weeks of synergy will be, how that relates to, and have each of you talk a little bit more about how you see that relates to the business world, the conscious business movement. And a lot of the people that are on this call either are advisors to businesses, are creating their own new businesses like Glenn, have their own businesses like Kathy and Mark and others. And so I'd love for you to chat with that.
I'd like to say a word and then turn it to Steve, who has Conscious Business Academy. I'm writing a book with Mark Donahue. It's called Exponential Creativity, but really it's about evolutionary entrepreneurs. Let's say Elon Musk, Richard Branson types. These are, according to what Mark, this is really Mark Donahue, who is a professor at Babson College, is that an evolutionary entrepreneur at whatever scale is actually activating through their own genius the new world. It's not in government, it's not in science, it's not in churches, it's in entrepreneurs. And so I realized, my father, the toy maker, who told me, Barbie, if you knew what to sell, you could sell anything. I had no idea what to sell. Well, it's not that I'm selling something, but I'm offering something. And then, so my entrepreneurial nature has suddenly been turned on because we have to generate resources. So I turn this to you, Steve. You've got an academy on this.
Yeah, boy, this all kind of distills down to some key things. But let me just say real quick, because we probably won't get to Global Oneness Day. GlobalOnenessSummit.org. So GlobalOnenessSummit.org. Make sure to check that out because that's coming. It's just next Tuesday. It's over 12 hours. It's free. And if you miss any part of it and you register, we send out links so you can watch it all. It's the first time it's on video. And it's just astounding, some of the things that happened. There's the one with the divine panel, a microcosm of what's happening in the world, where there was this conversation that broke out, where a part of the panel was talking about just the injustice in the world, the evil, and how we're entitled, to be emotional about that. And then another part of the panel came in with, and the response to that can be that we're a lighthouse, and that just what Martin Luther King said, that the darkness can't take out darkness. The light is what takes out darkness. That our invitation is to be the light. And there was it's so appropriate that the panel got into that kind of discussion now when I think that kind of discussion's breaking out everywhere. And that was Michael Beckwith, Panache Desai, Gary Zukoff, and Matthew Fox. So you can imagine the lightning bolts that were thrown around. That's the opening panel. And I could say a lot more, but just globalonenesssummit.org. Be sure to check it out. And with video, you can take off the whole day. Order pizza. Invite your friends and family. Barbara's on 2 panels. 2 panels this year.
A new holy day.
Yeah, it's a holy day.
Actually, It's a holy day. You've created a new holiday or holy day for humanity.
Glenn and I take off the whole day. We've done it for several years. Mm-hmm. And it feels like being R2-D2 plugging into the master computer.
Yeah, you'll love it, honestly. And thank you, to Barbara, and many of you are referral partners and co-creators. And so thank you, because you all even, are really what make this day big and growing, is the people that come in and give of themselves. So thank you for that. Now, on conscious business, there is a conscious business panel, by the way. Raj Sisodia, who's he wrote the book with John Mackey, Conscious Capitalism, is on that conscious business panel. And Lance Secretary, who ran Manpower, was on the panel. So a great conscious business discussion. But briefly, the thing that we're doing that I'll force myself not to get up on a soapbox here, but I feel so passionate about, is that conscious business started with, let's use the integral framework as our model here, with the right side, the outer focus, right? So people, planet, and profit. And B Corps are great. In fact, I would encourage people to start B Corps, and I know Bob is starting one. But what they do is they've created great rigor and depth around the outer dimension, and the testing that you go through every couple of years to verify that you're really doing all of the things that B Corp talks about is incredible. Really, it's amazing. What they don't get to is the left side of the integral framework. The inner is not in B Corp or B Lab, and they would tell you it's not. And conscious capitalism brings in the term consciousness, and their focus is on a conscious sponsor, leader in the organization, and also a conscious culture. But they don't define what consciousness is, and the whole inner dimension is not talked about. And it's the inner dimension, it's the sacred, and you all have brought in the term here, the sacred, that it's important to you. Barbara and I were just on a call with a dear friend of Barbara's who's working on a big project, and we were just a couple days ago, and he was saying to us, the sacred needs to be in this. Well, this is what conscious business is about. It's about bringing the sacred into business, that the culture of the business is sacred. So it's sacred guided collaboration, sacred guided decision making. So that means a culture that is focused on maintaining the sacred. And there could be many different ways of doing that, but they're all quite simplistic. It's just like the balancing thing that we did. I offered one way of doing that. You probably have 100 different ways of centering on these calls at the beginning. They're all taking us to that same place, right? We can call it 1,000 different names. We can have 100,000 different practices, but we can feel the sacred. We know when the sacred is there, right? And that's the thing that, and that when the sacred is there, then it's a mission with a business. It's not a business with a mission. No, it's a mission with a business. And the mission that's leading is what the sacred is, where we're going to provide nurturing products and services. And we're going to be, that's why we're here, is we're on this beautiful planet, and we want to not just focus on sustainables, like have a marriage. We're on a sustainable marriage. Hello? No, flourishing. We're focused on flourishing. Flourishing. We get to flourishing by consciousness. Consciousness what? Anchored in the inner, that is the sacred practices. So that's what we're really passionate about in this Conscious Business Alliance, that Humanities Team is just one of 4 NGOs, the Club of Budapest, the Boy Peace Foundation, and the Fowler Center for Business as an agent of public benefit. The 4 of us are created that Conscious Business Declaration. And all the training we're doing, we're rolling out a consulting practice now, so organizations can benchmark themselves to the Declaration. All of the things that we're doing come back to the Declaration. That's the foundation where the sacred is in the middle of the organization. And candidly, I don't even need to be passionate or emotional about it, because I know, just as I was saying earlier, that I wasn't using the term evolutionary tornado, but I could have. It's already set down. There's no stopping this. That consciousness will come to business. It doesn't need me, to be saying anything. Consciousness is going to come to everything. Barbara's wheel of co-creation is brilliant. That it's going to come to all spheres of life, and business is in the economic sphere. And there's no stopping it from coming into the economic sphere. But it does, if we're passionate about something, if we're called to something, as I am with this, then just as Barbara said, say yes and step in.
Yes, and I'd like to add the amazing thing about the wheel of co-creation as one of the many structures for social synergy. Nature takes jumps, not only by innovations, but by connecting innovations into a new organism. Now, when you think of the awesome quality of an organism like us, well, any organism, an animal, a single cell to a multi-cell to an animal to a human. Now, what happens when synergy happens? Nature is actually a genius at synergy. Humans have not been good at that, even when we're cooperating. So synergistic convergence, the co-creators' convergence. I'll just say what I have noticed about it is that each one of us, to fulfill our greatest passionate impulse, must join to create. It's not about being idealistic here. Mm-hmm. It's totally organically required for the life-giving yes that you have. You cannot do it alone. We've had great lonely pioneers in the past, but that's not who we are now. And so I'd like to just sort of conclude the idea of a universal humanity, Homo Universalis, is cultivating social synergy among all our parts. Wow. Just cultivating it, giving it the opportunity to share out of love, to create. This is a great planetary love affair.
Oh, this has been wonderful, Barbara and Steve. You're just, now how am I going to get to sleep? I guess that's the point. Wake up and stay awake.
That's right. It is about
grow up and grow up.
And this is a very special day in a couple ways. You just mentioned nature, Barbara, and I just No? And so I think this is going to be a very special day that we're going to remember this third Thursday call for the co-creators convergence of having you and Steve talking about all of this. More importantly, living this, as Marion says in the Revolutionary Agreements, it's about living them. And earlier today, for those that might have missed it, the Tree Sisters organization that we're a part of launched their 1 billion trees campaign.
Wow.
And it's all, for them, the phrase is, we, particularly led by women of the world, need to be moving from being a consumption species to a restorer species.
Restorative.
Restorative for the planet, restorative in our responsibility to nature, but also our responsibility to each other and humanity. And so this is a very, very special day, and this is a wonderful cap, and I'm not going to be able to go to sleep either.
Thank you so much for doing this, Bob and Noel. Really, thank you all. Thank you, Steve.
It's a co-creation. So
It is indeed.
You know, I thank everyone who's joined us here and for this just fabulous call. I am going to send out another email with the links to this YouTube. And then I'm also going to include the Global Oneness Summit.org, as well as the Awakening the Species Connections websites. So Steve, Barbara, if there's anything else you want me to include in particular, I'll get that out within the next 24 hours. So you got to be quick.
Oh, okay. I'll ask to be the universal process of creation.
So I'm going to, can I unmute all and everyone can just put their, let me see, can I unmute all? Yeah.
Signaling Ron Friedman to come around here, has been with us in the room the whole time.
Hi there.
So many of the co-creators will remember Ron, one of the weavers and facilitators for our very first convergence in 13. Beautiful wife, Victoria.
Yes, I love Ron and Victoria. The earliest friends in all of this.
We were, Wendy. And I love the sharing of genius, the way it bursts into new universes of inspiration.
Yeah.
Hearing these seed ideas are fantastic.
Well, thank you for having us. Yeah. My son is going to use the PC now to do his homework. So, yeah, hey, really wonderful seeing you all.
Yeah.
We love you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Good
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Noel. Thank you, Rob.
Love you. Great heart reunion.
Good to see you all.
Thanks. Love you, Denali. Kathy.
Love to all.
Phone.
Good night, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Love to all.
Love to all.
Great